people of Reddit who work in a casino, what are some of the saddest moments you've witnessed? I worked at a casino as a dealer through college. A lot of incidents were pretty sad, especially with regulars you liked. One regular would tell me about his middle school aged kids, and then I would realize the next week or so later that he was missing their school plays or recitals, etc. because he was at the tables. I remember working overnight one Christmas Eve and begging him to go home when 6 or 7 a.m. rolled around because his kids would be up and opening presents. Other times, people just scream at you for stealing their mortgage payments from them that month, and then seeing them back again the next day. This is going to be a very tragic thread, I feel like. Prepare yourselves, everybody, we're going in. Story 2. It's been about 15 years, but I worked in one for about 4 years. The one that stands out was a woman who came from the country to the big city to get Christmas gifts for the whole family, including young kids who still believed in Santa and all of that, but spent all of the Christmas money at the casino before going to the mall. Also, a few years later, I went back to visit, and when talking to one of the pit bosses about who was still there and whatnot, she told me one of my regulars, who was actually nice and likable, a rare trait in that business, had recently unalived themselves as a result of gambling too much. Story 3. Former valet at a casino. The amount of daily regulars who drove barely functioning vehicles full of trash, roaches, and rats who would actually valet their car to go and gamble away any money they had to their name was honestly depressing. The saddest I remember was a 90-plus-year-old lady who drove a 91 Corolla, and when we got into her car, we realized she had no power steering fluid at all, and her steering wheel would barely turn. I have no earthly idea how her frail arms could turn it. We went and bought her some before she left that evening. Story 4. We had to evacuate and close down for the rest of the day due to a burst pipe causing no running water. When I walked outside, there was an elderly lady throwing a legit tantrum in the parking lot. She was on the ground kicking and screaming. Her scream sounded like something you'd expect from someone who lost a family member, not someone who had to leave the casino for a few hours. I left, but some of the security who were dealing with her told me later that she was too upset to drive home, and they had to call a family member to pick her up. I've seen some stuff. A lot of what others have commented is fairly common, but this was definitely the most messed up. Story 5. Grandmother, mother, and daughter heading to the casino by car from 2 hours away. Mother had a postcard to get a free cast iron pan for showing up. Daughter is more than 8 months pregnant. 1 hour away from the casino, daughter starts to have labor pains. Mother won't stop and take her to the hospital. She's gotta have that $10 pan. They arrive at the casino an hour before the promotion was going to start. Mother raises all hell trying to get her pan, but the workers for the promo haven't arrived yet. Daughter ends up having to be transported by ambulance to the hospital, all over a $10 pan. The cost-benefit analysis was not run on this one. If they're in the States at least, the ambulance would have cost significantly more than they saved or gained by getting the pan. I do like the twist on Redditors who work in a casino what happened, though, because yeah, technically in a casino, but not what you would expect. Still very bad decision making though. Story 6. Worked in a casino for about 7 years, and the one that has always stuck with me was when a kid, 18, 19, came in with his friends and lost $100 playing blackjack. Then he was sitting there looking dejected and watching his friends win. He left and came back with another $100. I could tell from the way he was acting he probably didn't have the original $100 to lose, so he definitely couldn't afford to lose another 100. So I asked if he was sure he wanted to play. He nodded his head and solemnly said yes. Unfortunately, he lost that money too. Well, we can only hope that this was an early and relatively cheap lesson for gambling addiction, right? Losing $100 or $200 at 18, 19, it could be a lot worse, basically. I hope he learned his lesson and stayed away after that. Or at least only played when he was willing to lose what he had. Story 7. A woman approximately mid-30s dancing her butt off on the dance floor of the nightclub, and suddenly dropped dead. I watched her die. Or the time a VIP booth was packed, drinks flowing. Everybody picking up on the guy that passed out. End of night comes and they tell us he's gonna need a wheelchair, not uncommon. Guy was dead a good hour. The deaths always bug me. Casinos get a treatment similar to airports. The unspoken rule is to treat them as if alive until they get off the premises, even if they're an hour dead. The goal is to get them out as quickly as possible without freaking out the patrons. New Year's was always stressful. It was never a question of if someone would die that night, it was a question of how many. A good year would be 1. 1 year, we had 4. Story 8. I did casino security for 3 years before I became a police officer. Had a code M, medical, early one morning. Around 4 or 5 a.m. Old guy in his 80s passed out and fell out of his chair, wife sitting next to him. I was the first to get to him. did a quick assessment and found he didn't have a pulse, immediately started CPR. The old lady looked over and said,
"Oh, he does this all the time. Don't worry about him."
between chest compressions, I told her he wasn't breathing, and she just kept playing her slot machine. She didn't miss a spin even when the paramedics took him away. I saw her again the next night and asked how he was doing. With the straightest face ever, she said, "Oh, he never woke up. I'm sure he's in a freezer by now," and went right back to the same machine she was playing the night before. I feel like slot machines are the gambling machines you play when your soul has died. They're just gross, bright light dopamine machines. And the odds are always terrible on them, and yet people still play them because it's so easy. You press the button, and it goes spin, and then ding ding ding, and sometimes lights. Well, all the time lights, but sometimes good lights, you know? I don't know. I just feel like there can't be any real joy coming from those. I would never touch a slot machine. Story 9. I wasn't a casino employee, but I was an EMT in a certain beach town on the East Coast that could be described as bargain bin Vegas. On a given shift, we would probably field 3 or 4 casino calls, more in the summer. It was pretty soul-crushing. Most calls were alcohol-related or obvious slip-and-fall scams, but occasionally we would happen upon some real tragedies. Attempts to self-unalive, ODs, assaults, they all happened with depressing frequency. This one sticks with me the most, though. One day we had a call for a woman in her 70s sitting at the slots experiencing chest pain around 2 a.m. She refused treatment despite being in bad shape. We pleaded and begged, and even had the on-call cardiologist talk to her on the phone, but she was on a streak and wouldn't hear it. An hour later, we were back doing CPR. She died right there in front of the same slot machine with a receipt for $7 in winnings. Super messed up. The amount of employees we had to treat for exhaustion or diabetic-related emergencies due to them not having enough breaks to manage their blood sugars was also super screwed up. In short, screw that town. Story 10. Not a casino, but a charity poker room at a bowling alley where I was a dealer. Guy was pretty drunk and just so bad at poker. Kept losing the max buy-in, $300, and he would go straight to the ATM and rebuy. With every rebuy, the desperation became greater and greater. I just wanted to tell him to pack it up before he lost more, but that would have probably cost me my job. Eventually, I think he must have emptied his bank account. I had never seen someone lose so much money in one night. How much better would the world be if ATMs just weren't allowed to be within a certain radius of a casino? Like if you had to go outside and take a walk across the street and think about what you're doing for a second. Instead, they keep you in the hellhole and just keep you going. Story 11. Former poker dealer at a casino. An older gentleman started to have a heart attack at the table. I called the floor person for assistance with the call button. Paramedics are rushed in, etc., all within minutes. In this instance, I'm instructed to keep the game rolling by the floor person as he whispered in my ear. 2 hands are dealt and played, and a player at the table requested that the heart attack guy get moved somewhere else as it's disrupting the game. Another player asked to have his chips picked up and call for the open seat because we have a wait list. I was disgusted. Story 12. Not a casino employee. My story comes from my time in the military. Slot machines are everywhere in Germany. The small post I was on had a few slot machines in a back room of the bowling alley. One of our NCOs would go every payday and blow his entire paycheck over lunch. We would know if he won or not by the mood he was in after lunch. When he won, he would tell us about winning $600 after dropping $1,500 into the machine. Story 13. Don't work in a casino, but I go to a smaller casino here in Vegas where a lot of locals go to play. Lady hits $40K on a Keno game. After she got paid out, she was walking around giving all her friends and people she chats with $100 bills. I left shortly after because I just go to buy smokes and play my change here and there, so I'm not sure if she played more that night. About a week later, she was in there playing every time I went in to buy smokes, so I'm sure that money disappeared quickly. Isn't it wild to think about how the only way to truly win at a casino is to get the win early on and then just stop forever? Because just statistics-wise, you're gonna lose it all if you keep playing. It's just true. Story 14. Parents used to own a small casino. 15-ish tables, $100 limits. I worked weekends in the cage. Employees were allowed to gamble once off shift, and I watched one guy, after getting off of work around 7 p.m., proceed to lose his house payment, car payment, child support, max out his credit cards, everything. All by the time we closed at 6 a.m. I wasn't a huge gambler before that, but seeing that firsthand scared me off of taking any chances in a casino beyond casual playing. Story 15. Not a casino story, however, in North Carolina, gambling hasn't always been legal. A few years ago, I was helping manage a local grocery store and we had a regular. She was always pleasant, always got her things and left quickly, until the scratch-off dispensing machine was installed. Within less than a month, she went from a chipper old blonde lady to the strange, wrinkled witch at the scratch-off machine. She'd spend her entire month's social security within a few minutes, then scurry off to the next store to test her luck and come back to me. It was an everyday thing that came out of nowhere. She spent her brother's prescription money and begged me to sell her a Powerball ticket because she might win him some chemo and he would be thankful. Needless to say, that was one of my last lottery sales. Story 16. A couple that used to come to gamble at a casino I worked at unalived themselves after losing too much money. Same casino had a patron whose son came in to tell her to stop and that she couldn't keep gambling the family's money away. She would easily lose over $10,000 on a lot of days she went in. You get pretty desensitized to the plight of the gambler at your table, but the double unalive and the yelling son stuck with me. Story 17. Guy hit a jackpot for $30,000. In my area, that's life-changing money. He was supposed to go see his son in a different state. He went to a different casino and lost the jackpot and then some. He didn't go see his son. He didn't go to the job that he makes 2 to 3K a week at. He stayed at the casino for a week and lost his job. He lost his truck that he was sleeping in. I don't know what happened to him after he was evicted for harassing any woman that walked past him. Story 18. Atlantic City around 20 years ago. One of the 3 times I tried gambling in my life. Saw an elderly couple crying while talking to a security guard. They were telling him they had no money to pay the tolls to get home. I remember thinking the guard was a real jerk. No emotion on his face as he told them they had to leave the casino. After they left, though, he announced to everyone who had stopped to listen that the casino had already given them money to get home, which they had turned around and gambled away, putting them back at square one. I don't know what was worse, seeing an elderly couple cry, seeing this dude just jaded by his terribly necessary job, or just seeing that side of gambling. I'm grateful I was never bitten by that bug. Story 19. Not a casino, but volunteered at a local fireman's carnival bingo night. 20-something lady was playing quarter per game bingo with roll after roll of silver quarters. I tried explaining to her that they were worth more than a quarter and she didn't care, and kept playing with a look of desperation in her eyes. Never won a game that night. In my mind, she was blowing through a coin collection that her parent or grandparent had carefully put together. Story 20. I was a cashier for the food outlets in the casino. I saw a kid come into the diner inside the casino. He sat down and just stared straight ahead with a blank look on his face. Server went up to him and the kid asked, "How do I tell my parents I just lost my college money?" I'm sure there were more, but that's the main one I remember. Also, if you go to casinos, please don't treat the employees like crap because you screwed up and lost all your money. It's not our fault you don't have any self-control. I'm happy I don't work there anymore. It was honestly the lowest point in my life. Edit. Just remembered another one. College-age couple comes in and are there for a while. The girl goes into the bathroom and the guy waits outside. After about 15 minutes, he asks a passing lady to check on her because she hasn't answered his text. Lady comes back out and grabs a security guard. The girl had sliced her wrists while in the bathroom with her boyfriend waiting maybe 15 feet away. Luckily, I was on my way out that night, so I wasn't around for the rest of it. It was the bathroom right by the outlet I was working in. Edit 2. No, not gonna read the edit. It's too long and not interesting. Story 21. I have 2. Bear with me. Third day dealing. Fresh out of dealer school. I've been in industry for 10 years now. Anyway, I get put on a game called Pai Gow Tiles. Very difficult game to learn, and I loved it. It's difficult for Americans because we are so used to poker rules. In this game, a pair of 4s beats the pair of 10s. Why? Screw you, that's why. Anyway, third day dealing on a 25-minute game. Guy is betting 50 to 150 consistently for 3 hours. He builds it up to about 3K, started with 500. He slides it all on one hand. We wish him good luck. He sets his hand, excitedly showing the table his monster hand. I, the dealer, pull what's called Jigun or Tinbo. It is literally unbeatable. It's the god hand. It's a pair of aces, pair of kings. His hand was equal to a pair of queens and a pair of jacks. A 99.9% winner in every other instance. He slams the table, chips fly everywhere, and he begins to self-induce vomiting. He succeeds, splatters everywhere. Security is on him within seconds. Banned for life. Whole pit closes due to biohazard. He did not leave a tip. Second story, dealing for about 9 years now. I'm dealing Pai Gow poker, not tiles like above. Full table. This game involves a lot of pushes, which is why I enjoy playing. $200 at 10 to 20 a hand can have you playing for 2 hours no problem due to so many pushes. The reason to play this game is the bonus bet. Catching 4 of a kind, straight flushes, royal flushes pay huge. Even if you lose the hand and have a bonus, the bonus pays. Now, the twist is if you bet $5 or more, you get envy bonus, which means if anyone else at the table hits a monster bonus, you get paid some money too. 5 players playing, 4 play bonus and have envy active. The one player not playing bonus bets his last $15, no money for the bet and the bonus, and wakes up with the best hand possible. 7 card, straight flush, no joker. Joker is a wild card used to make straights, flushes, or act as a 5th ace. He shows the table and everyone cheers and is excited, because their $5 bet wins them each $5,000. If the man had played it, his bonus would have paid $8,000 to 1. $5 nets him $40K, but he didn't. So he shows the table. Look, I didn't play the bonus. I'm gonna win nothing while you all win $5,000 each through envy. Will each of you throw me $1,000 so we all walk away with $4,000 each? They start screaming at him, shouting, "No, screw you, how dare you ask us that? We earned this, etc., etc." He kind of frowns and lets out a small sigh, mucks the hand to the dealer. The table loses it.
No, what are you doing? Take it back. We'll split. We'll give you the 1,000.
I, the dealer, inside I'm like, hell yeah, bro, screw those greedy jerks. They all get $5K each off your hand while you win nothing. They call managers over demanding they be paid because he had the bonus hand. But until it is legally set by the player and the dealer reveals it to the camera, the patron may fold their hand freely and forfeit their bet. He walked away shouting back, "Hey, we all could have $4,000 each, but you want to be greedy." It was fantastic. So I guess it's sad for the greedy people at least. That last part, oh, it's beautiful. It's so petty. Is it even petty? Because it's a large amount of money. Doesn't petty mean small? I don't know. I kind of love it though. They were all truly greedy and really thought they deserved to win. Yeah, right. Unlucky day for them, but they should have just, agreed to split some money. He tried to bargain. They weren't having it. Story 22. Didn't work in the casinos, but sad story. When I was in college, I worked at Target. The security guard there was a nice man, but whenever he talked about going to the casinos, he seemed a little too excited. Like it was Christmas whenever he would go. I was the manager for the front end, so he and I would talk a lot because he would accompany me as I grabbed all the cash at the night so I wouldn't get mugged. That's all he talked about. He went to the casinos about 3 times a week. He was in his early 50s and still lived at home. Being a security guard at Target in your 50s living with your mom told me he probably had a gambling addiction and lost a lot. A few months later, he stopped coming into work. Found out he finally lost it all and unalived himself. Story 23. I know I'm late to the party, but I have one that has stuck with me. 5-year employee at a casino. An older couple, 60s, would come in 5 to 7 nights a week. The casino term is that they are avid, experienced players, i.e. addicted. She would go upstairs to play slots, and he would play cards downstairs. A sizable group of executive-level casino employees made their way to her machine and asked her to have a quick word in private. She refused to leave the machine. They attempted to ask her again to speak in private, but she very forcefully declined to leave. She demanded to know what they wanted, so one of the members let her know that her husband had a heart attack and he was being rushed to a nearby hospital. Her response,
"Give me his wallet."
and went right back to the machine. Broke my heart, even when I think about it more than a decade later. He died that night. She didn't leave until the next morning. Story 24. I don't work there, but I was at a table in a casino in Vicksburg, MS, playing Texas Hold'em, when a man took a chair next to me with a hospital bracelet on. Seems that many of the people at the table were regulars and congratulated him on his son's birth that had just happened. He was at the tables to earn some money to help pay for the baby, and lost around $300 over the next hour. Went home empty-handed. Personally, the saddest part to me was that he was there in the first place. An employee of a casino once told me that the reason they use leather instead of cloth chairs is that when people have lucky slots, they won't get up to go. Also, an employee of a casino once told me that the reason they use leather instead of cloth chairs is that when people have a lucky slot, they won't get up to go to the bathroom. That's pretty sad too. Bro, no, the baby, oh my god. With the hospital bracelets, this was recent, man. Oh no. On the bright side, it was only $300, I guess. On the downside, your baby was just born and you're in the casino. Alright, these stories are stressing me out, so I'm kind of glad it's over now, but I hope you enjoyed them. I also hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.